I wouldn't want to see a dad, unless they're in the medical profession or some really demanding profession, having to access their phone during holiday dinner. For a lot of people, that's very difficult. I know for a lot of dads, that's difficult. What is up, everybody? It is Ed Gow Jr. from Dad Central with the man with the open and bright room.
I guess that's Drew Solon of Dad Central. It's always a cliffhanger waiting to hear what you're going to add on to my little introduction. So thanks for that, Ed. Yeah. And you're the man in the forest today.
Yes, yeah, I am in the forest because I want to be in the forest before this forest is full of snow.
Okay.
All right. So we're looking forward to another great conversation topic today. And we're going to be chatting about work-life balance during the holidays because the holiday season is coming. So we're going to do a few conversations around the holiday season and fatherhood. So the discussion points we're going to chat about today are 4: how to manage work responsibilities with the demands of the holiday season, tips for being present with your family during the holiday time off. Hopefully you're getting some time off. You better get some time off, dads. How to unplug from work while still meeting end of year demands, and then preparing for the transition back to work after the holidays. So Drew, I know this is a good topic.
It's always a good topic because I think dads feel pulled in so many different directions all the time, but we know that the holidays can add an additional layer of stress to an already packed palette. So yeah, I think it's a really good conversation because sometimes we just get caught up in the hustle and bustle. And before we know it, we're like, oh my God, that season is over. And I'm like, I'm glad it's over. And you don't even know how you made it through. But excellent. I think it's an opportunity if we handle it well to create some valuable memories, to be able to build the momentum as you end the year and go into the next year with a little bit more intentionality, but also maybe a little bit more peace, a little bit more energy than maybe sometimes we can.
Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. So let's talk about our first conversation piece: how to manage work responsibilities while the demands of holiday season. What's your take on that point?
How to manage the demands or the responsibilities with the demands of holiday season.
Yeah.
Well, every family and maybe even every culture is a little bit different. And so first off is, really understanding like what are the demands on you as a dad when it comes to your family and your holiday season expectations. So some families, it's like the time of the year, and it's, family is crucial. And if you're not getting together with family, it's kind of like you're the black sheep of the family and there's something wrong. So, just understanding, what is actually coming your way over this holiday season. And I think when you have an awareness and an understanding, plus, if you're in a relationship and your spouse or partner has their family and their expectations, and together you've hopefully worked really well up to this point. But if you haven't, I'd say that's a crucial part of it too. What are your spouse's or partner's hopes or aspirations, and how are you working well together to get clear on, kind of what's a must do, or what's a nice to do, or what's a, we don't have the time or energy or budget for that this year. So you're working together in advance of the holidays to come up with your plans on what's going to work and how it's going to work. And so I know there's many different family structures. Some families are separated, some families are repartnered, again, and they're figuring out how to navigate. It's like that old movie, Four Christmases, right? Yeah. So, there can be a lot that goes on. So step number 1 for me is really understanding what are the demands on me and on us as a family through this holiday season. And then it comes to prioritizing those, and making some decisions collectively with your partner, again, if you're in a relationship. Those are my thoughts. What about you?
2 words come out of my alleged mind here, my shiny head, plan ahead. And I think that's what comes out of my head first, because not all, but many people, many dads who work, whether it's from home or out, they probably have an idea how much time, if any, they're going to get off over the holiday season. So aligning your availability, again, if you're with a partner, with their ability, because if you have the kids are off for like they're going to be off for a week or two. So you know what their availability is. Then finding out what your availability is as a dad, father, or caregiver, and then following if you're doing it with a partner, what their availability is. If you're doing it on your own, just aligning and planning ahead. Growing up, I remember on our old television, my dad used to have a card say "Plan ahead." That just resonates, and it's so important, especially during that season, because, as you said, boundaries and expectations, right? The boundaries and expectations, especially during that time of year, are critical. I think it's really, really important to have a knowledge of dad, your boundaries, what your family's boundaries, and discussing as much as possible ahead of time to make sure that, because for some people, holiday season is not a great experience. So you want to see if you can avoid that as much ahead of time by planning ahead and be on the offensive when it comes to, you know, demands of it, and especially your workplace. And again, find out how much you're needed there, whether it's virtual or brick and mortar, to then go to the next step on your availability with everybody else in the family.
Yeah, a couple thoughts that I'll share. I picture, and this is what Chris and I have done. We sit down with our calendar and we review. Okay, who needs to be where when, and then when it comes to what are our goals or our wishes when it comes to the time over the holidays, including what time am I taking off, what time, when are is family, like extended family happening. We have an added layer in that our children have to split the holidays. Well, the three of our children split the holidays between their mom's house and with us, so we need to certainly do that. And then the other thought around that whole overall as a dad, there are those other areas of your life that are demanding, and making sure that you do have plans for that, as far as what are your requirements for your work, what are your requirements for the other aspects, what are your requirements for your health and your leisure and your recreation. So how do they fit in there, knowing that, I like to say, you're not balancing all those demands, you have to integrate them as appropriate based on the season. And so that may mean you're cutting back in one area in service of adding more in the other, or you're reducing some of the margin that you built into your calendar. At the end of the day, planning ahead, being intentional with your time in all the areas that you're required is important for sure.
Good, good stuff. Let's move to our second discussion point: tips for being present with your family during holiday at time off. So, yes, dad, you could be off, but are you making sure, that you're planning that time with your family? Because you could be off and just be a hermit, basically, but you don't want to be that with your family. What do you have to say about that? What sort of tips have worked for you, Drew, and the fathers that you've chatted with
Yeah,
and have assisted?
good question. And I will acknowledge this is something that is not that easy for me. So I've learned from, finding myself caught up. I'm analytical. Like, so I'll wake up 3 a.m. and thoughts are rolling through my mind, whether it be responsibilities I have, whether it be ideas I want to take action on, or whether it be me being hard on myself, thinking, man, why did you do that? Or what about this? What about that? So if I haven't done what we've talked about, maybe in step one, having a good plan and being very intentional with my time, then some of the demands start to stack up and they start to be on my mind. And so for me, what's been helpful when it comes to being present with the family is being more disciplined in doing the planning ahead, and more disciplined in reviewing and where I have time and space to commit my energy, and following through on that, as well as being conscious in the moment. Am I being pulled away by my thoughts or by the emotions that might be coming up because of this situation? And sometimes it happens, right? Like, it's like this family moment and you're like, I'm here physically, but my mind is completely elsewhere. And I can either catch myself or, somebody that your kid might say something, or for me, Kristen might sort of give me a look and then ask me a question in terms of, hey, like, where'd you go? What's happening? And then I can either share it with her, and that helps me with the process, or I can, sometimes it's, I just need to go for a walk, or sometimes it's, I'll be here present for the next 20 minutes, but then I need about 10 minutes to go and I make a phone call or do this or do that. So again, this idea of integrating, but being one, not hard on yourself. Hey, it happens to all of us. And then working through it either in the moment or with a little bit of pre-planning and coordination with whoever's in the family is my I guess my only tip is just being catch yourself, give yourself some grace, as you like to say, and then take the steps you need based on knowing yourself on how to free your mind from the things that are pulling you away so that you can stay as present and engaged in the moment.
Yeah, I will add with that is the most precious thing that we all have in life, this is just my thought, is your time. So, especially during the holiday season when your children or child has an abundance of free time, make an investment in spending some time. And again, uh, and I think I look at it also too, again, on the extreme during the pandemic, dads, fathers, male caregivers had a whole pile of time. So for those who it was successful during that time, spending time, what things did you learn from that period of time? I know the kids have gotten older, but there's some things you I'm sure you have learned in that time that you can mirror during this holiday season. Again, think about what ask what they like, and I think will also being present with the family will make you better. I believe will make you better, especially during the holiday season if you are able to just be intentional with it. And again, for some it's easier than others, but even if just a little bit of time, I believe will fully move things forward.
Yeah, I'll add, as you were sharing, put those phones away if you can. Put them on silent, put them in a different room. Even if it's just for the half hour that you're going to commit, you're going to sit down and you're going to play a board game, or you're going to get on the floor and be silly with the kids. Do eliminate the distractions or the normal trappings that might pull you away. It might mean, and listen, this is a great time of year for sports. Bowl season, World Juniors, NFL playoffs. I could easily get pulled into those. And I enjoy engaging the sports. It's a nice break for me. So maybe I'll watch one or two less games, or I'll just choose not to get pulled aside by some of these distractions. I think those are ways we can be intentional about being more present with our family by eliminating distractions or the things that kind of tend to trap us with our pursuits sometimes.
Well, that's a nice segue into our next conversation, how to unplug from work while still meeting end of year demands. So you mentioned one of those things there, cell phone off. And I think for a lot of people, that's very difficult. I know for a lot of dads, that's difficult. But as Drew suggested, start small. Like you start with maybe even just like I wouldn't want to see a dad unless they're in the medical profession or some really demanding profession having to access their phone during holiday dinner. I think that you can take a break. And again, if it's really important, if it's a phone call, if it's important, that's what voicemail is for. Hopefully you have voicemail, by the way, or they can send a text message, but definitely taking that unplugged time. And I think I'm going to say, don't wait for the holidays to do that. My suggestion, you should be doing that now. But if you haven't made a start, the holidays is a great place to start. So that's what I have to add. Anything you want to put onto that, Drew, at all?
Very similar to what you started with. I was going to say we need to have a dose of perspective when it comes to the work. And again, I don't mean to disparage any of the work that anyone does, but unless you're literally a brain surgeon or saving lives with your work, is it really a requirement that you are on call all the time? Look, so there's an element of having a healthy dose of perspective in terms of, do I really need to be chained to this? Is it really serving me well right now? But then also, in terms of unplugging, the more that you can proactively commit to disciplining yourself to complete the work or even get a little bit ahead, it might free you up for that additional time to be present in the holidays and to not feel the weight of responsibility in terms of, hey, man, I'm so far behind. And look, everyone's context is different. Everyone's working situations, their demands are different. So it may not be possible for you based on where you're at. Like, you just could be like years behind in terms of, the organization that you're working with, in terms of they overload you, and that's the way it is. So I'm mindful of, you have to take your context into perspective here, but there's a simple thing: control what you can control. There's like what's in the circle of control, your attitude, your energy, your effort, your perspective, your mindset. Those are all things you have control over. Your environment and the choices of your boss or your colleagues, you don't have. So the next stage is control what you can control and let go of the rest, so that you can unplug from the demands when the time comes. That's just my thought.
Yeah, and again, I love what you said there. Mindset is so important. As someone told me a long time ago, where the mind goes, the person follows.
Mm, yeah.
So that mindset. So, all right, over the holidays, do you have a family mindset or do you have a non-family mindset? Do you have a work mindset or do you have a non-work mindset? So then we'll end it off with our conversation about preparing for the transition back to work after the holidays.
Oh,
That's assuming that you do take plug out, but let's say you do plug out.
yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that I have any great insight or wisdom here, other than to follow what we've talked about in terms of planning, intentionality, and unplugging, so that you actually can get some, I'll say, rest and recharging some of your energy. And so I guess the one thing I'll add is, there's a lot pulling at you all the time, but especially maybe during the holiday season, is what's the one thing that you can do to actually feel like you've done it for yourself? Is that about, for you, your physical health and maintaining like a discipline of activity during this holiday season? Is it more for you about like unplugging in terms of, I just need I'd love to read a book, or is it more about, I want to really connect with some of my friends that I haven't seen in, and so you and your buddies going out for a night to spend some time together? Or is it just going on like something? So I'd say my thought is, preparing for the transition back, make sure that over the holidays you've done at least one thing that refills your cup.
Good thing. No, actually, mentioning that, one of the things I'm going to be doing, well, it's pre-holiday season, but in the next few weeks, there's a group of gentlemen who I played football and rugby with, and we played golf in the summer. We also went out to a hamburger place that we used to all go to when we were in high school, and then we're doing a get-together lunch just before the holiday season really hits. So definitely, those things are really good. So this is what we wrapped up with today. We did work-life balance during the holidays, our 4 key points. Think about how to manage your work responsibilities with the demands of the holiday season. We also talked about tips for being present with your family during the holiday time off. And then we went to how to unplug from work while still meeting end of year demands, and then finally preparing for the transition back to work after the holidays. And I'll just say quickly before Drew ends it off that a number of these things, start them now if you haven't started. You don't have to wait till holiday season. Drew, finish it off. What do we have a resource for this?
You know, our resource that I think is best is our Dad Mentor community. We just had another meetup last night, and the value of connecting, hearing other people's stories, but also getting insight and guidance from their individual journeys has been tremendously invaluable. As part of Dad Mentor, we have what we call the Dad's Roadmap, which is essentially a 5-stage, step-by-step plan of action on what to do to grow yourself as a father. And it starts with knowing your role and value, knowing and regulating yourself, connecting, learning to collaborate and apply coaching skills to your relationships, and then finally learning how to lead yourself and then lead within your family. So In stage 2, know and regulate yourself, we've got a tremendous lesson about priorities and identifying your 3 R's. What's required of you? Where do you get your greatest return? And where do you feel the most reward? And when you get clear on that, you can build your priorities from there. And that's how you manage your time effectively, to achieve like the greatest you possibly can. So to me, our dad mentor resource, a fantastic way to get the support, direction, and balancing all these different demands.
Excellent. Well, we want to thank you for taking the time, the most valuable thing you have, to hang out with us, me in the woods and Drew inside of wood, right here today. So, as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. And thank you for watching.